Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. If you remember, the Russians lost Kherson a while ago through the Ukrainian counteroffensive, so they moved on the other side of the Dnieper River. It seems like now, after all this maneuver, the Russians are attempting to retake Kherson, and obviously the Ukrainians are not very happy. So let's see what's going on over there. So we have the most important points, I would say, or hotspots of this war is the Kherson now. Then it is the Bakhmut, where it seems like the Russians are able to advance. And there is another location where the Ukrainians are conducting an offensive, and that is Kreminna. So in Kreminna, the Ukrainians are advancing. In Bakhmut, the Russians are advancing. And in Kherson, the Russians started their missiles attack or rockets attack in order to prepare the invasion. There are three big columns of military equipment: tanks, armored vehicles, infantry armored vehicles, and personnel moving into Zaporozhye area. So I don't know if that's going to be used at one point. We're going to veer towards Kherson, but we're going to find out. So this article comes from Reuters, and it says that Russia intensifies attacks on liberated Kherson in eastern Ukraine. It's more than that, but let's see here. It says that in Bakhmut, on December 28, Russian forces stepped up mortar and artillery attacks on the recently liberated city of Kherson in southern Ukraine on Wednesday, which is today, the 20th or 28th of December. Ukraine's military said, while also exerting constant pressure along front lines in eastern regions of the country. I think this is Russia's latest or the final offensive or pressure, and I think the Ukrainians will collapse. But hey, we can't be certain of these things, but even the Ukrainians are claiming that they are losing ground, for instance in Bakhmut, and they've been losing ground for about 2 months or so, and they were giving little information, and you could figure things out by their desperation. Why? You had Zelensky coming to Bakhmut, and it was the chief of intelligence directorate coming again to Bakhmut. He's there right now. So it's a lot of people coming in Bakhmut, and I don't understand exactly. I mean, they try to build morale over there. It might be. Now, Russia fired 33 missiles from multiple rocket launchers at civilian targets in Kherson, of course. Yeah, just fighting with the civilians. In the 24 hours to early Wednesday, the General Staff of Ukraine Armed Forces said in its morning report, Russia denies targeting civilians. Obviously, right? Now, who's telling the truth? Neither. Heavy fighting also persisted around the Ukrainian-held city of Bakhmut, now largely in ruins in the eastern province of Donetsk, and to its south around the cities of Svatone and Kreminna in Luhansk province, where Ukrainian forces are trying to break Russian defense lines. So they try in Ukrainians are trying in Kreminna, the Russians are trying in Bakhmut, and they're getting things ready in Kherson. So it says air raid sirens also sounded across Ukraine on Wednesday morning today, officials said. Ukrainian social media reports said the nationwide alert might have been declared after Russian jets stationed in neighboring Belarus took off. Reuters was unable to immediately verify that information. Britain's defense ministry said in its latest update on the military situation in Ukraine that Russia has likely reinforced the Kreminna section of the front line as it is logistically important to Moscow and has become relatively vulnerable following recent Ukrainian advances further west. The joy of Kherson residents over the city's liberation has quickly given way to fear amid relentless Russian shelling from the east bank of the Dnieper, and many have since left. Well, it's contested. It's going to be contested. The Russians had, according to some military personnel, which is one of them I will mention, is the retired U.S. Army retired Colonel Douglas McGregor, who said that the Russians retreated from, according to him, they had an organized retreat from Kherson to fight another day, which was they were not prepared for what the Ukrainians did. That doesn't minimize Ukrainian success as a counteroffensive that they conducted. It's just that McGregor and others think that the Russians just say, okay, it's no use for now to do what we're doing. Let's go back. We're losing here, but we're going to come back. And it seems like this is exactly what the Russians are doing now. They reorganized their defenses, brought more forces, manpower, artillery, and now they're starting over. And we'll see if the Ukrainians will be able to withstand that push. I think this is the last, the last, as I said, continuous of offensive or push on Ukrainian forces, and also because Ukraine, I think, tries to create how do you call that, visions or stories. Oh, we're gonna negotiate in February, just take it easy. I think by February Ukraine, or end of February, when the Ukraine says it's gonna implement a peace process, 10 points, Zelensky, genius, so on, I think by then Russia will be already breaking the defenses of the Ukrainian troops. And we'll see. Now, of course, Russian forces shelled the maternity wing of a hospital in Kherson. All right, no one was hurt, and the staff and patients have been moved to a shelter, he added. Okay, Reuters was unable to immediately verify the report. A Russian strike killed at least 10 people and wounded 58 in Kherson last Saturday. So now they look back and say, okay, these guys are putting more and more pressure. In Wednesday's report, Ukraine's general staff also reported further Russian shelling in Zaporozhye region and in the Sumy and Kharkiv regions of northeast Ukraine. Well, the Russians did not back down, and they turned from, switched from a special military operation that it started as. That's what they thought they would have, but they realized that the sponsors were more numerous than they expected, and the support was overwhelming from the, United States, Great Britain, France, Germany, Poland, all these countries. And then they switched to a war. War meaning partial mobilization, more troops, right? More equipment, and let's do it. Regroup, change a little generals over there, and plan again, start over. And it seems like starting over meaning now it's for real. Not that it wasn't for real before, but it has a different intensity right now. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.